if we can rewind back to October and November 2023, I think we'll remember that even back then it was pretty clear what was going on in Gaza. And at that time, I didn't really have the vocabulary, I think, to say, oh, this is definitely a genocide. But what we could all see in media and especially social media, right, was indiscriminate mass bombing and slaughter of civilians. And from the earliest days after October 7th, the highest figures in Israeli government announcing very explicitly that they wanted to implement a campaign of mass punishment and basically kill as many Palestinians as possible.
Hmm.
So that was all in the open. That's what y'all were able to see online or on the news if we go back to October of 23. At that time, I also worked in the Defense Intelligence Agency in their Middle East department, and I was essentially secretary to the head of that department. I was his military aide. And so in addition to everything that you could see in public, I could see a lot of US intelligence reporting about it. And the office that I worked for generated a lot of those intelligence assessments. That's was one of our duties. And so because I was really troubled by what I was seeing in the news, I was really searching to see if there was something on the inside we knew um, that would tell a different story. And that, right, maybe we're only seeing these really graphic images and stories in public, but actually behind the scenes, the Biden administration was working really hard to put the war to a quick end, or it wasn't as bad as it looked. And I found the opposite, right? All of the privileged information and assessments that I had access to just confirmed what you could all see in public. So there was really not any question about how bad it was. And there was also in that first month really no question about what position the Biden administration was going to take. Um, Through our job, right, we were a few steps down the food chain from decisions and discussions that the National Security Council was making. Fewer steps down from decisions the Secretary of Defense uh, were making, and there was really never any indication in any of these meeting minutes or any of these orders that we got or any of these intelligence taskings that anybody in the chain of command was seriously considering reducing our military support to Israel because of how they were conducting this war in Gaza. I was really desperate to find some clue that that was happening. And not only did I not find it, we really we got the opposite. And this has come out in press now, but at least in the intelligence world, uh, basically still in October of 2023, we received a directive basically that was meant to address concerns that people were having about doing intel sharing with Israel. And it basically said, uh, if if you're worried that they're going to use the intelligence you're giving them for gross violations of human rights, essentially war crimes, ask them to confirm that they're not going to do that. And
Oh
that was
boy.
basically and that was basically the extent of the kind of legal and moral scrutiny that the director of national intelligence asked all of the intel agencies to take. A very similar position to basically how arms transfers were evaluated. Ask the
Hmm.
Israelis if they're going to do anything bad with this, and if they say no, you're good to go. And so when you see that, it's impossible to have any hope really uh, that you're going to be asked to stop supporting these war crimes anytime soon.
So that was CYA pretty much. But what about responsibility to be monitoring what's happening?
So a lot of people have asked about this, and I would say the there's multiple government agencies that including in the intelligence world that carefully monitored the humanitarian situation in Gaza, to include destruction of infrastructure, disease, famine, things like that. What nobody was really deliberately monitoring, even though everybody knew it, was to what extent is the Israeli military deliberately causing and imposing these conditions? And that was the obvious and universally understood connection that you weren't really meant to put down into paper. In the intel world, uh, you either examine something because you're being asked to do it, or because you're a smart analyst and you think this is something that you want to shed more light on. Well, nobody at any level in the chain of command was asking the intel community to spell out the very obvious link between Israeli government policy and the starvation, destruction of infrastructure, and general, deprivation of Palestinians in Gaza. And I think pretty universally, everybody I worked with and our counterparts in other agencies understood this was a politicized issue. And even if they hadn't been told so explicitly, they were aware that they probably would not be rewarded for bringing up and writing this report that says Israeli government deliberately executing campaign of mass starvation or deliberately executing campaign of ethnic cleansing. And so because of that, I think it took quite a long time for anybody to put into writing what was quite obvious to you all in 2023.
Good grief. So it was denial, government purposeful denial of what was going on.
I don't want to say did not, because there was no denial of the humanitarian situation in Gaza, but you could say there was willful ignorance about the fact that this was a deliberate policy of the Israeli government and not, an unfortunate collateral damage byproduct of
Mhm.
a war against Hamas.